Welcome to Greece. I'm in an island called Serifos, to be more precise. And today I'll be doing a 10k race.
Before we get into it, I really need to express how hilly this was. I was going to say it's undulating, but it's not. It's actually really hilly. The fact is, it was in Greece and it was pretty damn hot at the time, even though we started at 7 o'clock. Before I get into it, I'll let the start and I'll explain a little bit more after the excitement has ended. And as you can see, the stats have appeared on the screen, and for some reason, I don't know why, but they always start after I've started my watch. And this was me just checking, make sure the camera is working. And I decided maybe I should try and catch up with the leading pack. The plan was to see if I could stick with the guys at the front, and maybe if I can, stick to about halfway and then pull away. I've caught up with the second guy and the leading lady. It was actually at this point where I realised, oh yes, that's the one that was here last year and won it by miles. Her name is Ekaterina Kutli, and she's a middle distance Greek champion who won a double gold medal at the Pan-Hellenic Championships in 2022 in the 800 and 1500 metres race. So obviously made of good stock here. I had done my research and I knew from last year how good she was, so there was no way I was going to try and keep up with that. And look at the gap is getting massive. And what, we're in 400 metres in here? I decided, well, I'm going to stick with these guys. They seem to be falling behind like me, so maybe we're at the same level. But saying that, look at him. His name is Konstantinos Athanasoulis. And I got chatting to him after the race. He's got a fantastic marathon time of 2:47.27, which is a hell of a lot faster than my time. So he's a decent competition. So from this point on, I'm just going to say the lead, even though I don't really mean it because Ekaterina has just almost disappeared. So from now on, when I say taking the lead or anything like that, I mean generally for the men. It was quite windy that day, and generally like the wind really annoys me when we're racing or running because it just makes things so much harder. But because of the heat, the actual wind was a blessing. It still made it hard to run in, and that's why I'd stuck behind him. But it made no difference, so I decided I'm just going to run along the side of him and see how he responds. I did try and increase the pace here a little bit just to see if he would respond well, and he did. He just stuck with me. I do like to do this every now and then, just to see if they're going to break, because sometimes they'll think, oh, this guy's got a little bit more in him than I do, I'm just going to hold back. And then you kind of put a bit of a gap, and then you take it easy and try and keep the same gap, the same distance. There's a lot of sections in this video where there's just not much happening, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fast forward those bits, but you'll still be able to see what's happening. Massive shout out to these guys pushing these chairs along this course. Trust me, this course is very hilly. And as you can see at the top right hand side there, the elevation and slope gradients, just so you can see exactly what we're dealing with in this course. We've now hit 1 kilometre and my heart rate is pretty much maxed out. I think the highest it can go is 162. Of course I've got the strap on my arm. It's not the most accurate one, so sometimes it does go higher, but from past experience and every other heart rate monitor I've ever had, it usually goes up to 161, 162 for a 10k. We were on a hill here and I was quite surprised how much I was struggling a little bit. but we got up to a little bit more flat and settled out. There was 3 of us, even though you couldn't see it in the camera. This guy is called Stavros, and he was with us all the way from the start. But obviously he decided he wanted to be a little bit closer and maybe take the lead for a bit. He wasn't messing about though, because we were heading downhill now, and he just takes right off. So the mind games are working the other way around now. He's putting in the gap, and I'm thinking, I don't think I want to go with that. It's way too soon. We're only 1.5k in. I've raced too many times to know that this is never worth it. The guy could actually be very fast, or he could just end up blowing up. And if he blows up, then I'll blow up with him. So the best thing to do is let him go and try and keep the gap as short as possible. Grab some water here, because there was definitely no way I wasn't taking water in every stop. As I mentioned, it was so hot, there was just no way I wasn't taking some fluids. It was this point I realised that he was maybe not so good on the uphills, and I thought, with all the training I've done over the summer going up these mountains, I need to try and always close the gap whilst going up the hill. I was trying to keep to the right here, making sure I was in as much shade as possible, but it wasn't really working. As you can see, the sun is still beating down. The other thing that wasn't working was the fact that I was trying to close the gap going uphill, because clearly the gap was getting bigger again. There's about 1,000 things that go through your mind when you're racing, and it's always about what I should be doing at that moment in time. I pretty much decided I'm just going to have to run my own race here, and if they get further away from me, then so be it. There's not much I can do about it. I can only run as fast as I can run right now. I'm going to be honest here and say the reason I'm doing this race is because I wanted to come here and see if I could win it. I've done this one twice before. The first time was 2018 and the second time was last year. I really enjoy this race, so I thought I'll come back and hopefully I can try and win it. So at this point I'm pointing at Ekaterina, who is basically miles and miles in front, but she's so far away you can't catch it in the camera. So in 2018, I was actually leading this race. It was me and this other guy who were like kind of neck and neck. And we got to the turn point and there was nobody there. Even though it was marked on the ground, there was nobody there to tell us to turn round, which was really annoying because I knew, because I'd already scoped the course out, I knew that was the turn point. And I said to the guy running next to me, oh, should we maybe turn here? And he says, no, they will tell us when it's time to turn. I didn't really know what to do, so I just kept running with him because I didn't want to be accused of cutting the course short. And I wasn't 100% sure that that was a turn point. Well, would you look at this? I've actually caught up with the two guys. I must admit, it even took me by surprise because there was quite a gap between me and them. I think the whole reason here is because this was actually quite a big hill. The slow percentage is climbing slowly there. The guys are kind of struggling a little bit. I'm not saying I wasn't struggling because I really was, but the joy of actually catching up with them was pretty high. I think they were a little bit worried that I've actually caught up with them as well. I know I would have been as well, because it's always worrying when people catch up with you. Although I was tired, I was feeling quite confident here. And as you can see, again, I decide I think I'll take them in as hell. So the mind games begin again. Now, going back to the 2018 race. So we carried on running and we went well past the 5k point. And we kept going. And I kept saying to the guy, maybe we should turn now, and he kept saying, no, they'll tell us. Eventually some guy in a bike cycled all the way up and he goes, what are you doing? You're supposed to turn back there where the sign was on the ground. And we were like, but there was nobody there. We did an about turn and started heading down. There was so many people had already turned at the 5k point, so we started overtaking people. It just felt like we were overtaken constantly. It was actually relentless. Eventually that guy was a lot faster than me and he actually overtook me to get third place. But for me, I ended up in fifth place. It was a tough day and it was a tough thing to take, knowing I could have podiumed. Back to the race. That's Ekaterina passing us on the way back now because it is an out and back course. My confidence was still quite high because I was still with the guys and we were slowly approaching the turn point. I was quite confident that there was going to be somebody there this time. There was somebody there last year as well. So I think they fixed that problem. We're approaching a car now, which is where the turn point was. I got a little bit confused here, as you will see, because I wasn't sure which way around I was supposed to run. I'm asking the guys here this way or that way, and they were saying, but as you can see, I went the wrong way. Apologised, we all laughed, and then carried on. With my embarrassment, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to continue, and I'm going to try and lead for a bit. I knew the downhill was coming, and I knew that guy with the headband likes a downhill. So I might as well try and see if I can extend a little bit of a lead here, so when he does overtake me on a downhill, then the gap won't be as big, so I can maybe catch up with him on the uphill. Now going back to last year's race, I ended up third then as well. As you obviously know, I didn't win it, and the reason I actually came back this year because I felt quite confident I could maybe sneak the win in, providing that girl hadn't turned up, but she did. As predicted, Stavros taking the lead on the downhill, and that's me adjusting my hat because the wind was starting to take it. I really didn't want to lose the camera, so I did hold it in my hand for a while. So I'm just going to fast forward to this bit, just so you don't get sick looking at the bounce there. Okay, so that's the hat back on the head, and we're starting to see the other people coming the other way. There's Jane, high five, and then back to trying to catch up with the guys. Again, they decide they don't want anything to do with me, so they take off again. Again, my confidence gets dropped a little bit, but then I said, look, there's a big gap between me and the person behind me. So to lose fourth spot, you're the only one you can blame. It's your spot, don't lose it, keep going. I know you can't probably see it because I've sped it up, but the wind at this point was so bad that I just had to keep grabbing onto my hat because it felt like it was just going to keep flying off me, even though it was on tight. If anybody's keeping an eye on the slope there, as you can see, it goes up to 26% and also goes down to about 26%. Like I said, it's a hilly course. There's also a 5k race going on at the same time. So all these people I'm overtaking at this point are actually taking part in that race. I did notice at this point that I was actually catching up with the Costadinos, and that Stavros had completely disappeared. The mind is a great thing, because as soon as you see somebody falling behind, especially so close to the end, you just get this little mad rush inside you that says, okay, that person is really struggling. And it kind of gives you that energy that they've lost. So start to chase him down. And don't get me wrong, this felt really hard. So my mind process at this point is, when you start overtaking somebody, especially so close to the end, you just have to kind of keep going at the pace that you overtook them. Sometimes they try and keep up with you, and you just have to keep just going at that pace and hope that they're going to drop off. And 9 out of 10 times they do, simply because the reason you caught up with them was because they were tired. But I don't think he even tried to keep up with me, but I didn't look back because that's a sign of weakness. And I felt quite confident, so all I did was I just stayed in that pace and just kept going. And I was kind of hoping he wouldn't catch up with me. I was actually quite confident he wouldn't catch up with me, simply because this last part, this last 600 meters, is mostly all uphill. Overtaking all these 5k runners was also a very nice boost. One final turn, and there she is, the finishing line. There's no better view than seeing that finishing line when you're absolutely spent. The only worry is there's somebody behind you and they're about to take you on the line. And thankfully there wasn't anybody this time, but it's happened many a time before. Got my medal. Guy's asking me where I'm from. Don't know, from Scotland. And there we go. Took third place in the podium, second male. What a boost. Well happy with that. I think I'm done with this race 3 times. Didn't win it. It's obviously not meant to happen, but a really nice race, and I really enjoyed it. Now, if you made it all the way to the end here, that means you really like my videos, so why haven't you subscribed?